After the World Tour Finals of 2023, Vegito was hit with a significant meter nerf to his overall kit. He built half the bar that he did before out of all of his actions. Before, a very simple B&B like this would build up a single bar of meter for him, and then it only built a half a bar. Now, after several patches of character buffs throughout the entire cast while Vegito received a few slap on the wrist nerfs here and there, Bandai has reduced the meter penalty on the character. I don't think it's a full restoration to what his old meter build was before, as he would be able to build a single bar off of this combo, but it seems to be an increase by about 25% for him, meaning that now he only has a 25% meter penalty compared to his original meter build when the character was released overall. Vegito greatly appreciates being able to build more bar for himself, as an anchor character, he would basically be stuck with whatever meter he came in with, as every single bar he spent, it would take him 2 combos for him to make up for it typically. Now, he's able to be a much more reliant self-battery for himself, improving his overall viability as well as utility on a team. Now off of some sequences and with assist tag-ins, Vegito can reliably build over a bar and a half on some of his longer combos. In the previous patch, 5S and 6S just operated at 2 specific different ranges for the character to use. 5S was up close, while 6S was a little farther away. Meaning that around this space, Vegito could use this. Both for his combo links usually, but maybe even potentially in his pressure and as a poke. Now, 5S still appears in the same place, but 6S fully tracks its location based on where the opponent is. Outside of close range where it completely whiffs, at these ranges, Vegito now has a 14-frame unreactable option to always catch the opponent out, and there's a lot of implications for this. For starters, Vegito can now easily punish any character at full screen who dares to shoot a beam at him on block. That was a counter hit. Super Saiyan Goku could do nothing about that except for go for a super dash cancel. Before we break down more of 6S's changes, we have to talk about some other moves of Vegito's as well, as all of these tie together to give him dramatically new combo routes. His 2S has been reworked in terms of its knockback and stun time, as well as a new behavior when you input forward during the move. This is what the old 2S looked like. Vegito always stayed in place, and basically, unless you were in the corner and therefore could link a jump normal after this, you had to super dash. This is what the hit stun looks like now. As you can see, the opponent is thrown straight back into a wall bounce even in mid-screen. That means Vegito is actually able to run up and convert off of this with his normals. This greatly improves the ward that he's able to get off of this attack, but there's one more change to talk about that ties into the 6S change. As I demonstrated, if you held down any direction with 2S, Vegito would stay in the same place. Now, if you do 3S, he lunges forward. Quite considerably too. This means that he can basically anti-air poke from neutral using this move, but also it means he's able to combo from his 6S at full screen. This is an insane buff to give this character. Additionally, if you already use your Smash Launcher, you can use the new 6S and 3S to extend your combos in new ways. I don't think this will compare to most of his corner routing re-jumps, but still, it's options that he has. This also ties into one more change that we'll get down later when we talk about his special moves. Now, the one aspect about this particular inclusion of Vegito's kit is what it potentially means for how Vegito players might want to be playing in neutral. Of course, having a full screen tracking 14-frame startup Ki Blast attack that you can combo into is a pretty strong option to have, especially if the opponent tries to poke against you and all of a sudden you're playing punish mind games as well. However, because of some system mechanic changes, there's actually a lot of RPS interactions to explore right here. I've already demonstrated that against beams, you can counter poke them and punish an opponent for going for it. However, there is a little bit of RPS that we are playing because of the unreactable nature of these confirms. While Vegetos are going to be fishing with this move, it feels like they very much have to buffer into the 3S and Gatling in early in order to get the combo. I have the dummy here set to random guard. I'm going to see if I can consistently react and hit confirm this move, and if I whiff this on block, we'll talk about the situation afterwards. As you can see from these few examples, if I auto-time my confirms, everything works pretty well. However, once I recognize that the opponent starts blocking it, I'm trying to start to look for those things, and if I'm looking for the hit and react to it, I'm not able to combo into 3S. This is a very preemptive move for Vegito to do, and in a game with plenty of full-screen options that now, there's actually a big risk that he puts himself into if this move is blocked. Let's take a look at the frame data. Vegito advances forward and is whiffing this entire move while the opponent is on the ground. Vegito is negative 24 in this example here. At this range, Super Saiyan Goku can punish with a 2M or a 5H. So Vegito's in neutral, I think, will be spamming this initially, but once you start blocking this, you can definitely build in an auto-time punish to deal with them just spamming out this move in neutral, making them think twice about this. As for the beam punish situation, there is still a little bit of RPS to consider. However, I would argue that all of it is in Vegito's favor. Because we can cancel into Super Dash after Kamehamehas and beams now, the opponent can try and avoid being punished by the 6S by immediately Super Dashing once they see that Vegito's blocked and realizing that they're in a situation where 6S is going to punish them. If they do this, the 6X is going to whiff, and Vegito really doesn't have any option except for a counter vanish here, because since the move whiffed, he's not able to cancel into his 2H to anti-air. Of course, in this situation, Vegito can also just wait out the Super Dash, and then all of a sudden, you're giving him a 2H punish. So suffices to say, it is still pretty terrible of an idea to throw out a beam on the ground at Vegito at full screen, because now you are playing an RPS, and your health bar is going to be deleted. Of course, the situation here does get more complicated when we add full screen assists into the equation here, but suffice it to say, you're going to have to play a lot more conservatively against Vegito at full screen than you had to before. Unlike most characters, Vegito kind of struggles to make use of canceling his jump specials into jump heavies and combos. However, this is not where the character really likes this change. Vegito's been a character that's been putting people in left-right mix-ups in mid-screen by using a jumping cross-up, or a same-side JS, to blend the opponent together. On block, the JS was a pretty rough situation to be in, as you basically had to special cancel out of it in order to keep Vegito safe. However, with the Gatling change, Vegito is now actually able to cancel into a jump heavy after his block JS, have the opponent block the jump heavy, and still keep his turn. This is unreal pressure for him now. Now it doesn't really matter which side that he goes for. Either way, you're going to be under Vegito's pressure for quite some time. And thanks to the cinematic hit of JS, it's actually not too hard to just Gatling out a JH, let the cinematic eat that input, and then pick up a combo as you normally would. So Vegito players will have to get used to this, but this is honestly incredibly strong for the character's mix-up and pressure. It's also worth pointing out that more often than not, Vegito can make this JS into JH a true string. So once you block this, you're pretty much stuck into this pressure. It is important to note that if you read the same side stored and you reflect it, if Vegito chooses to true string into the JH, you will reflect both attacks. He can delay the JH, of course, and try and bait out your reflect here, but you should always just be defaulting to a single reflect and then blocking high, I'd argue. Just keep that in mind. Split Finger Shot has two important changes. First, there's increased stun time. Off of this hit, we see that Vegito has 24 frames of hit stun to work with in the current patch. This was the old hit stun. 19 frames, so overall increase in 5 frames for hit stun. This means that any combos that Vegito would use this move in are going to be a little easier for him to link out of, so those difficult combos are definitely going to be a little easier. However, this also ties in incredibly well to the other change that Split Finger Shot got. However, there's another very important property to note about Split Finger Shot's Super Dash cancel. Unlike most beam projectiles that are able to be Super Dash canceled in the game, at any given range, you could 2H all those other beam attacks. However, for Vegito, even at full screen, if you preempt the Super Dash and the opponent blocks Split Finger Shot, you frame trap their 2H. This is absolutely insane, as Vegito basically just has a get in for jail free card when it comes to neutral play like this. However, there are some risks to this still. There are some things that you can do against this, of course. You could preempt a super dash to try and beat him to the super dash race and get in on him instead. However, there are some risks with that as he's able to vanish cancel out a split finger shot at any given moment now. Additionally, you could also reflect the split finger shot blast itself, allowing you to 2H the preempted super dash because Vegito has to preempt his super dash in order to frame trap your 2H on block. So he's playing on that mind game that you're not going to be on the ground waiting for him to do this. So once you show that you're able to do this, Vegito players might be slowing down on just trying to use this to skip neutral. And of course, if you do block the split finger shot ki blast, you can always reflect the super dash that comes afterwards. So at the very least, you can maintain some space against Vegito. With all this talk of what Vegito can do with split finger shot, we should mention one important thing that he can't do, and that's convert with split finger shot off of a full screen success. If Vegito could do this from full screen, it would be over. He'd have a 14-frame Ki Blast startup move that would be able to just loop Ki Blasting pressure on you, keeping you away, and on hit, he would basically gotten a full combo on you as well. Even if you get a little closer to the character, it still doesn't combo. Ranges where this combos are basically ranges where Vegito would rather be pressing his 5M for an unscaled starter. So that is something that's very important to note when it comes to how this part of his kit synergizes within itself. If Vegito chooses to 6S and then goes to split finger shot, he's just trying to casually zone you. He's not actually able to get anything out of that. All versions of Vegito's Atomic Buster has a few changes. The light version now is faster in midair. In the current patch, it's 10 frame startup. Compare that to the old patch. It was 13 frames before. This might mean that there's new links that Vegito can do, as well as making this a potentially scarier threat in close-range neutral situations where he wants to catch the opponent with this move. Meanwhile, the medium and heavy versions of Atomic Busters have seen adjustments to their knockback on hit. Before, the medium version was just a slide knockdown. And the heavy version had a subtle ground bounce. This is the new knockback. Now the medium version has the EX version's old knockback with a ground bounce to it. And the EX version has a dramatic ground bounce to it. This combos nicely with the change to 6S. Basically, if Vegito grabs you with his EX command throw, he gets a full combo off of it now instead of having to vanish to go for a pickup or confirming into a super straight up. This also means that if Vegito throws the opponent into the corner with either version of these moves, it's possible to get links off of them. Before, that link was only possible with the EX version of the move, and now Vegito can go into some of those combo routes without having to spend the half a bar to do so. The knockback on Vegito's A assist has been adjusted to make it easier to get combos off of it. Before, it would launch the opponent pretty high upwards vertically. Now the opponent stays pretty close to the ground. This definitely means that it's easier for many characters to tack on either a high-reaching medium or just be able to pick up a confirm off of it in general. The hit stun still remains the same between the two versions, 58 frames of advantage, so it's not like we're back to the old days where you had a full second to convert off of this attack, but it still is going to be easier for characters to pick up combos off of this move. His B assist is now faster on startup. Current version of the game now, it's 25 frames startup for 45 frames of block stun. Actually a pretty good property, which I think many people would mess with if it wasn't for the fact that his A assist is one of his best assists in general, as well as one of the best assists in the game possibly again. This was the old startup. 30 frames, so a 5 frame difference, so it's more comparable to other Lariat style assists now. Like many other assists of this type, the C assist also has been sped up on startup, and Vegito appears in a slightly different spot. Before, it was 45 frames startup, and Vegito would appear pretty close, but directly above to the enemy. And this is how his C assist looks now. It's 5 frames faster, coming out of frame 40, and Vegito appears slightly higher than he did before, I think making it harder for the opponent to just jab check him when he appears. However, I don't see many players, outside of maybe new to the game players, using this assist, because his A assist has always been phenomenal in many forms, and it's slightly better in this patch. I think it's pretty safe to say that with these changes, Vegito is once again a considerable top-level meta threat that many players are going to be utilizing on their teams. Within the first week of the patch, I've already seen many players who dropped the character because of the meter nerfs before come back to experiment now that he's a lot more utility-friendly in terms of the bar build that he's able to give to a team and to himself to cash out with, but also just due to the strong single changes that he has across his entire kit. His neutral is more terrifying, the confirms he gets from that neutral are also more terrifying, he has stronger combo routes than he did before, and his pressure game is truly demonic in this form of the game, considering the fact that he can choose to left-right you in mid-screen and still maintain his offense regardless of the direction that he chooses to go with there. I think with a lot of other nerfs as well to some other top-tier characters, namely Labcoat 21, people are going to be dropping her and picking up Vegito to potentially fill in their anchor spot. I foresee for the foreseeable future, Hikari is likely going to be winning a lot of events, running either Gogeta 4 up front with Vegito and Android 17 in the back, as we've seen him do, or with the blue fusions in Android 17 as well. We'll see if there's going to be another team that's going to be able to rise up and compete with that particular team in this patch. And I'm excited to see where the things go because a lot of people have sort of been missing the fusions to some degree, but it's pretty safe to say that they're back now, and we'll see if we regret letting them in again.